So I replayed Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. And honestly, even back when it released in 2005, I still believe to this day it is one of the most underrated Star Wars games ever to come out. It has a lot of flaws, especially flaws related to age, but we'll talk about them. Let's just, boost it a little bit. Let's give it the praise it deserves, because it deserves it. It's really good. So Star Wars Episode 3 is the movie tie-in game, and it's connected to Episode 3, and funnily enough, fun fact, when the game released, it actually released before the film, so if you played the game, you knew how the story ended, and they actually used cutscenes from the film. And that's really cool, I think. Movie tie-in games didn't really do that very often, if I remember correctly. They kind of just did their own interpretations of the scenes, because obviously they'll get the script. Obviously they won't see that entire film, I don't think anyway, and they'd work from the script and build, different cinematics from it. The story is going to be told better in the film. They did a very good job of actually adapting it and getting to the point, while also spreading out a bunch of missions that are genuinely fun to play. They push the story forward and really allows you to sink your teeth into Order 66. And I thought that was really just a fun, smart idea, because obviously Episode 1 and Episode 2 didn't get games like this. I don't think so. I mean, there was the Star Wars Obi-Wan game that came out exclusively on Xbox. Never played it. Never going to, I don't think, unless you guys want to see it, but I don't know if I want to put myself through that stress. Everyone comes back for voice acting. You've got Hayden Christensen as Anakin, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, etc, etc.
Anakin, please, come back to the light. Face up to what you've done. I can help you.
It's too late for that. You're too late. You only want to help yourself.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
And obviously, it's not going to be the best, okay? I said this in my Spider-Man 2 review, which you can check out there. I'm still getting a hang of this green screen thing. Oh, my finger's gone. Oh no, jeez. But voice actors did return for their roles quite often, but they just phoned it in. They didn't do a very good job. And obviously, Hayden Christensen specifically got a lot of crap for his performance. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it was a great performance. I don't think it was, personally. I think whoever voiced him in the Clone Wars did a way better job. Way better. But obviously, Hayden has come out and, everyone likes him now. I never disliked him, I just didn't like his performance. But Ewan McGregor, obviously, he was great in the film, but they're not great. Either of them are just not great in this game at all. It's hilarious. Like, everyone remembers, when he dies. It's not really my idea of a death sound, you know what I mean? And Ewan kind of phones it in as well, which is unfortunate. But what really surprised me the most, it wasn't the cinematics, it wasn't the fact the game follows the story or the fact that the game spoils the film. It's the gameplay. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the gameplay is actually really good. It's really, really good. Is it as good as, Jedi Fallen Order and all that? No, obviously not. But for a 2005 game, I thought replaying it right now, spectacular. I really enjoyed it. There's a bit of input lag, and there's some technical issues, and obviously it's a PS2 game, so there's limits with what you can do. But for what it is, I really enjoyed it. It finds a really good blend of mixing duels with Jedi, Sith, all of that stuff, with all the clones when Order 66 happens, as well as a bunch of drones as well. And obviously, droids, not drones, what am I talking about? Droids. And obviously, Jedi Survivor, which is coming out next month, that's going to obviously bring in droids and stuff like that right now. But right now, I think Episode 3 has the best droid combat, because obviously, droids shoot at you and you can slice them up. Obviously, you had Star Wars Republic of Heroes, I think it was called. It was like a Clone Wars game. Didn't play it much, but that was in there as well. But the point is, Episode 3 has really good combat. So you've got your heavy attacks, your light attacks, you've got your force abilities, and Ewan and Hayden Christensen, both their characters, Anakin, Obi-Wan, have separate upgrade systems. They both have different moves and different force abilities, both of which you can upgrade over the course of the game. And it works really well. At first, you do feel quite underpowered, because every time you use your force ability, that's going to be it for like 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, so you're constantly just kind of waiting to get your force back through back to tanks, as they call them. But most of the time, you feel okay. The lightsaber combat, the light and heavy attacks, they blend in really well. You can do grabs, you can do different combos. So one attack goes like this way, and then another attack goes this way, and then you can go and then it works really well. Now, people will have their favorites, okay? Obi-Wan was personally my favorite. I just like this swift, smooth style, you know what I mean? But Anakin's pretty fun as well. And all the levels are quite well designed, and I think that's because of the locked camera. You cannot control the camera. Very odd choice, to be honest with you, because the camera follows wherever you move to, basically. It's a bit like the old Resident Evil games. You know those games where the camera is just still and you just go to a hallway, and every time you click on a door, you walk through the door and then it cuts to another camera. That's basically what it is. And I think that's why the levels are really well designed and very well paced. You do have a couple duds, like there was a mission at the very start of the game when you're obviously trying to get to General Grievous and you're on top of an elevator and you kind of just stand there and slice droids for about 5 minutes. It was really boring. I didn't really understand why that was there. It didn't need to be there, but you know, it's still more Star Wars, so who cares? So the combat is pretty great. I'm not going to go too in depth because I'm actually running out of time. I'm moving, as I keep saying, but I'm trying to get as much content out as I can. But that's not all I'm going to talk about. There's also additional stuff that we have to talk about. First off, duels. There's actually a 1v1 versus mode that you can choose to play with someone else or by yourself. And you have a selection of characters, including Darth Vader and old Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is pretty cool. That was an additional stage. And you have all these stages, Mustafar, pretty much everywhere you go in the campaign, you can visit again and have duels there with different characters. So you could pick Mace Windu, or you could pick Obi-Wan Anakin, you know what I mean? You could pick all of those characters. And that was like my first taste of really getting into duels and stuff like that. Outside of games like Dragon Ball Budokai or Budokai Tenkaichi. Tenkaichi? I can't even remember how to say that name, you know what I mean? It's such a weird name. And that mode in general is really fun while limited, you know what I mean? It did have a lot of work put into it, but I think if we were ever to get like a remaster or a remake possibly, you know, I'd love to see that with like the Clone Wars actors. That'd be pretty cool. I would love to see it get more expanded, because this was the time where everything was local, you know. Most people didn't have internet connections, any 1v1 versus modes. It was always there, like GoldenEye, Marvel Rise of Imperfects, I think it was called, that had a versus mode. Kung Fu Panda had a versus mode. Pretty much every game under the sun had a versus or co-op mode. So that was during that time. So I'd love to see another Star Wars game expand on that. Give us some dueling games, you know what I mean? There's not enough dueling games at all. Think For Honor, but with Star Wars. Ooh, beautiful. Give me it. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the additional stages you get. So once you beat the campaign, or you can put in cheat codes, I did put in cheat codes, I can't lie, to access all the additional stages where you get to play as different characters. Specifically, I played the one with Yoda. It's not great, okay? It's not great. I don't want to end it on a negative, but it's not great. The additional stages are nice, but the characters that you play as, Yoda, very limited. I think you have like one combo in his entire moveset, and it's literally just you slaying down waves of clones. So yeah, take that as you will, you know what I mean? It wasn't great, but it was cool to have, you know what I mean? But overall, episode 3, even today, is still a pretty good Star Wars experience. If you look past the graphics, if you look past the dated state level design with the still camera, then you're still gonna have a good time. And it is, you know, pretty funny. It is a pretty funny game. Plus, if you're just in the mood to have a Star Wars co-op or Star Wars 1v1 dueling fight or whatever, Star Wars Episode 3 is there. You can just boot that up on your PC if you emulate, or just get a PS2 or whatever consoles it came out on. And just to boot it up and have a good time with your mate, you know what I mean? You can have like a competition, you can have like a little tournament. Whoever loses has to drink 2 shots or some shit, I don't know. But that sounds really cool. That sounds really cool to me, but you know, it's just me. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Like the video, maybe even subscribe if you're new here. What is the worst that could happen? Okay, bye-bye.